Issue 11. Thanksgiving every day. Even though I clutch my blanket and mutter when the alarm clock rings each morning, "Thank you, Lord," that I can hear it. There are many who are deaf. Even though I keep my eyes tightly closed against the morning light as long as possible, thank you, Lord, that I can see. There are many who are blind. Even though I huddle in my bed because I don't want to get up, thank you, Lord, that I have the strength to rise. There are many who are bedridden. Even though the first hour of my day is hectic when my daughter can't find a pair of socks, when my wife burns my toast, and my son hogs the bathroom, when everybody's temper is short, thank you, Lord, for my family. There are many who are lonely. Even though our breakfast table never looks like the pictures in magazines and the menu is at times unbalanced, thank you, Lord, for the food we have. There are many who are hungry. Even though my job is often monotonous, thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to work. There are many who are jobless. Even though I grumble and bemoan my fate from day to day and wish my circumstances were not so modest, thank you, Lord, for the gift of life.
Comprehension. 1. Describe the writer's attitude toward life. 2. What is worse than having a bad job? 3. Describe a typical morning in the writer's life.
Let's talk. One, are you happy with your present circumstances? How would you improve them if you could? 2, do you always view things optimistically? Explain your answer. 3, what do you think constitutes a happy life? 4, what do you hate most about your life? Your job, your family, your English ability, your friends, your home? What is wrong in that regard, and how could it be better? 5, what do you want to accomplish in life?
Opinion samples. 1. Do you know what a Pollyanna is? It's someone who always finds the bright side to every problem. If he loses his job, he'd say, "Well, now I have some free time." If his girlfriend would break off their relationship, he'd insist that he was lucky it happened before they got married. If he broke his leg, he'd be glad that it wasn't both legs. No matter how severe the tragedy, he'd put some positive spin on it. I think people like this are foolishly optimistic. They are unrealistic in their attitudes. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being an optimist, but like anything else, it can be taken too far. The main problem with it is that a Pollyanna is too content to leave things the way they are because they're not so bad, rather than recognize the severity of the situation and then do something about it. Question: what are the good points of being a Pollyanna? And what are the good points of being pessimistic?
2, I hate my job. It's the same thing every day. I get up at the same time, I get dressed and eat breakfast, I drive to work along the same route, and then the clock starts ticking on the job exactly at 9 o'clock every morning. I shuffle an identical series of papers every day, and at noon I go to eat with my usual colleagues in the same cafeteria. And at 1 o'clock I have the same papers to process until 5 o'clock. Then I go home and watch TV and eat supper and go to bed. The next day it all cycles through the same way. I'm in a rut. There are some things I could do differently, I suppose. I could vary my activities at home and maybe go out more in the evening. But these are minor, cosmetic changes. The main source of displeasure in my life is my dreaded job. There just isn't much I can do to change the basic nature of the routine. And what's worse, it's all my own fault that I'm trapped in my profession. I spent years in school training for it. I worked hard and studied assiduously for years, and then I went to a dozen interviews before I was hired. But now I find that I hate this occupation, and I'm stuck in it. I can't do anything else. Question: how many people do you think are happy with their jobs? If they are not, what alternatives do they have? Issue 11. Thanksgiving every day.
How can you be so chipper all the time?
I just don't let things bring me down, that's all. I figured out a long time ago that the world would never be perfect, but I was bound to make the best of it that I could. So I try not to let bad situations get me down.
You do an admirable job of it. You never look depressed.
You'd be surprised. Sometimes I feel utterly defeated when nothing is going my way, but I don't ever try to show it. I try not to let on how hopeless the situation is. I just bear down and shoulder the problem as well as I can, and eventually things get better again.
Most people I know just develop a chip on their shoulder when things don't go well. They become surly and blame everybody else for their problems, or they just give up.
That's one way of coping with the situation, I guess. For some people, it's effective. It's all a matter of personality. It lets them get on with life until things get better. But it sure takes its toll on family and friendship, and it doesn't accomplish very much. I'd rather smile my way through life than frown. Eventually, at the end, I'll get to the same place, but I'll have a more pleasant itinerary, I think.
I wish I had more of your optimism.
It's all a matter of constant training, actually. Every situation is potentially good and bad. Just try to concentrate on the good as much as you can, and it gets easier as time goes by.
Questions. 1. How can one develop a positive view of life? 2. How much good is it to be resentful or defeatist? 3. Describe the travel through life metaphor used in the dialogue.